and they accidentally made a good episode, but we'll see. We'll see next week.
Shit, we did good. Come on, guys, undo that.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name's Nick.
And I'm Ray. And today we're talking about episode 4, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And might I say, by far the best episode so far, in my opinion. In my opinion, just overall quick take, there it is. Best episode by far. In Ray's opinion, Nick, what's your quick take opinion?
Yeah, I think we're going to be contrarians. I actually enjoyed this episode overall. I had some issues, but yeah, overall I enjoyed it.
I can tell you why I enjoyed it. And with this episode, I realized what the issue the show's having, in my opinion, as of right now. The absence of the Harfoots. Honestly. So I was thinking about it and I was looking back, and all the storylines have kind of a deeper, like more serious tone. Even the dwarf and the Elrond, there is, especially in this episode, there's a serious tone behind it, right? Like what's being hidden, what's going on here. There's a lot of foreshadowing. Harfoot is just goofy, and it completely shifts the tone in the episode. So when it's going from scene to scene, it completely ruins the pacing. It completely ruins the momentum of everything that's been building thematically and tone wise. It just gets rid of the consistency. And I think that not having the Harfoots in this episode really aided to what I felt was the most consistent episode so far.
I definitely didn't miss them. I'll say that. I don't think that they're the only reason that the show isn't doing well overall.
Oh, yeah. That's not
no, I understand. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think it could do without. And I still think that this show has too many dang storylines going on.
Mm-hmm. In episodes 1 through 3, it felt unfocused. Episode 4 felt a lot more focused, and it started opening up like the more foreshadowing the narrative it's going to pursue. In my opinion, I thought it was just really a lot more focused in that, right? Galadriel, Numenor. Obviously, they're going to partner up now, which is fantastic. And then you see what's going on with Durin, right? And foreshadowing of the Balrog from the mithril mining.
Yeah.
When that started shaking, I was like, it's Durin's bane, dude. And yeah, no, I thought this episode, let's just talk about it in aspects first, right? This episode as a whole. Cinematography. I do wish, again, they would stop relying so heavily on slow motion. Yeah,
I think especially, I agree. I think the cinematography is lacking. Yeah. Now, I'm going to say overall, the sets and everything look great. But yeah, the whole slow-mo scene whenever the elf and the woman and the child are in the forest running from the orcs, it goes on for so long and it's so unnecessary. And then they have like the echoey voices. It's like, why?
Hurry,
I know. It's like, what? It's so weird. It's totally unnecessary. And I did not like that at all.
Yeah. So let's focus on that scene, because that's honestly the biggest red flag scene I had. Yes, the slow motion I thought was completely unnecessary, because it kind of comes out of nowhere. You know, he's like, take my hand, they're coming. And like, no one's shouting in the background. No one's chasing them. Already the goofy orcs were looking for the boy. Just, where is he? Just doing that. The NPC, right, is what they were doing. They weren't like actually looking. And then they start the chase, slow-mo through the forest, right? And I was like, okay, they're trying to do Boromir running through the forest in slow motion. But Lord of the Rings only did it for like 5 seconds, and then it's back to impact, right? It's not, what was that, like a minute long? And then then the mom shows up there in that forest at that moment, out of the entirety of all the feels that there are. I know I got to suspend disbelief or whatever, that whole thing. I get that. But like, it's lazy writing, dude. I was calling shit out left and right in this episode. I was like, oh, look, the mom's going to show up. And then boom, mom showed up.
I think the more egregious part is that the elf showed up. I think that's
fully kitted out.
I think that is the way more egregious part than the mother. I'm assuming, right, the mom, she knows the son has, because the other guy that he went to town with came back and he's like, hey, we went to town. and she knows the path from that tower to town. So to me, that's not even like an issue. I'm assuming like, hey, she got lucky. She happened to be going that way as they were coming back. Cool. But yeah, the elf just randomly showing up, like he was
fully decked out with all his shit. No, dude. Yeah. Adar is not giving him all his stuff back. What are you talking about? He's, all right, go walk now. You'll be fine. My orcs won't attack you. You know?
Yeah. So in that timeline, he found all of his gear. He looks great now. He's all rested up.
All of his gear.
Yeah, giving back all his gear. Goes through the tunnels that he was just building and apparently makes it to him in time, just at the nick of time to save him. It's like that. Yeah, that was a stretch to me. Yeah. That was a big stretch.
In that storyline. So speaking on that storyline real quick, Adar, I thought was brilliant. Good actor there. Still confused as to who he is. I was about to say Sauron.
Yeah, and I had mentioned this yesterday excuse me. I had mentioned this in our last video about the suspenseful nature that everything has. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, if this guy isn't Sauron, it's going to be very surprising to me.
But yeah, I don't know who Adar would be aside from Sauron. Right. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know, because all the fire that went to Morgoth, aside from Sauron, were turned into the Balrogs that I know of. I might be wrong.
Yeah,
I was wrong last week with the.
The
turns
age.
out Galadriel's a lot older. I misread her birthday. That's my bad.
No big deal. I thought Isildur was Aragorn's grandfather, even though I was watching a little sidebar here. Sorry, going to Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. I was watching Fellowship of the Rings yesterday, and it's like in the intro, after Isildur loses the ring, they're like,
and some things that should not have been forgotten were lost. History became legend, legend became myth. And for 2,500 years, the ring passed out of all knowledge.
So obviously they go through that whole thing. I knew he was way older, but I never put it together for some reason. Yeah. So, but I digress.
But yeah, so that scene, the Arendar scene, at least, is interesting though. I do like it so far. They're making orcs be like orcs, right? They don't go into the sun too much, which I think is, good to see.
I mean, they're basically vampires to me.
Yeah, they are.
It's not even like they don't like the sun and prefer not to be, which I thought was the case. It's like they can't touch the sun.
Yeah, that's why Uruk-hai were so important. Created because they could walk in the sun. But so the storyline itself, though, is not completely boring, right? There's facets that are going to be cool and that intrigue me, like who the fuck's Adar and what's going to happen with this defense of Ostinith, or however you pronounce it.
What's that? The tower?
Yeah,
that's the watchtower.
Yeah. Okay. That's some cool potential there. Aside from that, though, I think that was the weakest storyline this week, honestly. But I don't think it was that bad. I don't.
No.
Moving forward, let's talk real quick about Durin and Elrond. I love their dynamic, honestly.
Yeah, I really enjoy their storyline. Anytime, and I don't know if it's meant to be this way, anytime Elrond is making an apology or saying something along those lines, I don't believe him whatsoever. To me, it just feels real fake.
It's his face.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it is?
It is. Dude, I went to my dad's and he was like, we were talking about it and he was like, Elrond, man. I was like, what? He was like, that dude's face, I just want to punch it. I was like, right? I feel bad for the guy. Because I think he's doing a good job acting like stately and whatnot,
he got cast for the role, so
yeah,
it worked out for him, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, that storyline this week was really good. I liked Durin and Elrond's little adventures, if you will. it
took me, I'm really happy because I was expecting in the box, right? What is that? Episode 2, they open up the box and there's this shining light. I was like, are they really just going to throw in the Arkenstone out of nowhere for what? And I didn't even think, oh yeah, duh, Mithril. They have to discover it.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm really, to me, it was almost like I was expecting just the laziest form of writing and storytelling possible, to where they're just, I mean, and to be fair, with like Halbrand, for instance, they literally say it again in this episode that he's a reluctant king from his lands that doesn't want the throne. It's like,
it's just lazy. Yep.
Yeah. And I just expected the same sort of laziness to be like, oh, there's the Arkenstone.
Yeah. They
already have it. They're trying to hide it from the elves. Ooh. Yeah. No, but it's Mithril. So I'm happy it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool to see the Mithril found, and the translations between it. That was super cool. And then at the end, Durin and his father. That's a little wholesome moment.
That was touching.
Yeah. As a whole, I think that was probably the strongest storyline this week.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed that one the best.
Now, Galadriel and Halbrand, we didn't see much of Halbrand.
No,
they basically not upset.
Yeah, they basically showed him once or twice just to remind you that he's there.
Yeah, and they had him play this weird like puppet master at that moment with Faraz, whatever that dude's name is, the big, supposed to look like Greek senator dude.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, why would you fight her when you already know where she's going? Whisper, whisper. And then backs up, and I'm just like, come on, dude. Holy shit. And it was cool to see a Palantir. That was dope.
Yeah.
Cool to see a foreshadowing of the fall of Numenor. Right? That was cool.
Yeah.
And there's some character development happening with Galadriel this episode and Muriel. So that was nice to see. She was like, wait, she had to have it spelled out to her. She was like, I'm being kind of a bitch. And then when she goes up there and sees the king, she's like, oh, he's dying.
Yeah.
Elves don't do that. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought she was much better this week than last week.
Let me say she's definitely better than the last 3 episodes in this episode. But even still, I'm having a hard time with her just because of how rash she is about everything, how abrasive she always is, how I just don't like her. I don't like her character at this point at all.
Yeah. To be fair, who knows? I'm not making a comparison here. I'm not saying it's going to be as good as this. I didn't like Jaime Lannister's character at first. And as the seasons went along, his character arc, he got a lot better until he didn't when season 8 ruined him. This show does not have as intelligent of writers as Game of Thrones, however. So I X for doubt, but who knows? Either way, this episode should have been the weakest episode in the season. This is what the weakest episode in the first season should have been. This quality, if you will. Instead, it's by far, in my opinion, the best episode, which is kind of
like I said in the beginning, I enjoyed this one. I usually watch these episodes at least twice. I only got the chance to do it once this time.
Yeah.
But even still, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now, for my final closing thoughts on this episode, I guess, if you will. While episode 4 remedied a lot of the issues episodes 1 through 3 had, it's still falling into lazy writing. Constantly, you can call out what's going to happen next before it happens. Then it happens because everything is so fucking cliched. Everything is just so done and been done before. There's no imagination behind it at all. For what they have so much money to spend on this and they have no imagination in it. And it does make it feel lifeless because it's like an 8th grader could have wrote this story, and that is the one thing I will say that my biggest issue, I guess, is the way to say it. While this is not a horrible show, I think it is a lazy show. Not the VFX artists. I think the VFX artists have been fucking doing work, you know. But the show writing, I think, was lazy. I think the dialogue doesn't feel like it's from that era half the time. People
Even
fall in and out of you know, just not character, but like what their character is from, right? And then you just have that cliche coming in just minute after minute, and it's so easy to call. It's just not interesting to me. There's no intrigue, no mystery, you know?
Yeah.
Aside from who the fuck Aloran is, or
Adon, Adon.
Well, Adar, yeah. And I don't think he's going to be Sauron. So now,
I'm thinking maybe he's just like an elf that turned to the other side, and he's one of Sauron's more
that makes the
guys.
orcs. He makes the orcs.
He makes them. Yeah. Now, I want to kind of piggyback off that. I agree. I think that the dialogue is having issues as well, especially in the earlier parts of this episode. Like when it was first just getting ramping up, it just felt wonky. It felt really bad and really in certain situations. And then even for the story, right, with Halbrand, it's not even that's cliche to me, because I think if you do a cliche well, it ceases to be a cliche. The problem is that was the whole secondary plot of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That was Aragorn's entire story, was him doing that arc. And then for some reason, they decide to reuse that again in this one.
Yeah, I should clarify. It's more cliched in the high fantasy realm. And Lord of the Rings specific, that universe, from what we know of, it's very cliched. It may not be cliched for a rom-com or something, right?
Sure.
Although, don't look, I'm just waiting for Galadriel to have a meet cute with some guy. Okay, that's what I'm waiting for. Or Sauron to have a meet cute with some guy.
Yeah.
If that happens, I'm not even going to be mad. I'm going to call that episode a fucking masterpiece. But yeah. As a whole, I would say this episode was a solid 7 in comparison to the past 3.
Yeah, in comparison and as a standalone episode, I mean, this one was to me was by far the best of the 3. And getting past, right, I've had a week to forget about the fact that they totally butchered the lore, right, that they're supposed to be basing this off of. So it's not as fresh in my mind, and I could get past it a little bit watching this one. And I enjoyed this episode for everything that was going on. So I'm glad that they brought Arendar back so quickly with his love interest, right, with the Southlander humans.
Yeah.
Because it lets us not have so many split storylines. Yeah. And one of my big problems with this series so far is how many they have, right? We have that love interest one. We have Durin and Elrond, and we have the Harfoots and Galadriel. Like, that's 4. And then not only that, we had him split last episode. So luckily that's not another one. And then hopefully Elrond and Durin stay together most of the time. You know, it's just, there's a lot. Like, we have 4 base ones with potentially 8. Yeah. So it's a lot to do in just 8 episode seasons.
Yeah. But now, as a whole, if Rings of Power is going to have a turnaround, it starts now. And I would love for them to have a weak first 3 episodes and end on a strong 4. But with how cliched and lazy the writing seems to me, I X for doubt. I think this may have been just a lucky episode.
This is a fluke for them.
It may have been. Yeah, I'm thinking it'll head to. I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah,
I think this might be one of them. Who knows? I'm not trying to be all gloom and doom on the series, but
like I said at the end of our episode 3 review, I want the show to do well. So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I enjoyed this episode, so I hope that it can continue. I think, again, I'm more pessimistic, and I I would tend to agree with you. This probably was just a fluke and they accidentally made a good episode, but we'll see. We'll see next week.
We did good. Fuck, guys, undo that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, this is Ray out.
Thanks for watching.